All right, welcome back. Let's head to Zimbabwe, where the Opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC, has revealed that it will not hold primary elections to select candidates for this year's polls. The decision will undoubtedly set tongues wagging, especially in ZANU-PF corridors, where they have been demanding that the opposition party should create structures, go for Congress, and unveil its constitution, or else be barred from contesting in the coming general elections.
According to the CCC, the opposition, led by Nelson Chamisa, will have a convergence at different levels to allow its members to decide who will represent them in the forthcoming elections. CCC National Deputy Spokesperson OSTALLOS SIZIBA joins us this morning from Zimbabwe. Good morning and thanks for joining us, Mr. SIZIBA.
Good morning and revolutionary greetings to all fellow Africans.
All right. So reading up on this story, I got to realize that it's not the first time that the CCC is choosing to not carry out primary elections. In 2022, I think sometime in August, there was, similar declaration. So I want you to explain why this, has happened in the past and why this is happening again. Is this the, memorandum? Is this the way that the CCC works, basically?
Thank you very much. I think that to clarify this issue, we have actually broadened what traditionally was primary elections, where we basically had only members of the movement selecting and electing representative of the party. But we've introduced what we call a consensus candidate selection process, which is a more broad community process, which involves not just members of the organization, but also members of the public in that particular locality. We are broadening this because we have felt that elections in Zimbabwe, particularly the internal processes, are usually not reflective of the collective aspirations of the people in the community. So what we have done is to broaden those who participate and add their views in terms of who must represent them. This is deliberate because we want to make sure that the choice of the people is respected, that the will of the people in total, in any locality, is respected so that we have more wins. If you check the history of the opposition movement in Zimbabwe, there was a mismatch between the votes that a presidential candidate gets and the votes that a member of parliament and a councillor get. This is obviously because there was no interest by community members to vote for the member of parliament, as some would have felt that it is not their best choice for parliament, but agreeing that the presidential candidate is their best choice. So to resolve this anomaly, we have said, let us broaden the members and the citizens in the community who participate in terms of choosing, our representative for parliament and council.
All right, you say that you want all the citizens to feel involved and to feel heard, but what we're saying is that some CCC members have allegedly started campaigning. So we have Svangirai Jr. has already started campaigning. We also have reports that CCC activist Demison has also imposed himself as a CCC candidate for Airport constituency. Can you confirm this? And if yes, what does this then mean for the CCC?
Look, it's just rumors that are being manufactured. There is no one who has been confirmed as a candidate. There is no one. I mean, people in their different respects, unofficially, can decide to have interest. What we have said this time is that we don't want someone with interest. We want someone whom the people have interest in. So that is the disjuncture. So what you have seen are people who post in their personal social media accounts to say, I have interest in this particular community and so forth. That has been the tradition in the politics of our country. Within different political parties, you can hear that so and so is interested in that. But our official process, we're actually having our meeting tomorrow as an organization to actually finalize the template of the community candidate selection process. After that, we have got an independent electoral board that is going to be conducting these community candidate selection processes across the entire country. And that is when you are going to hear the official process and who, when, and how. What you see currently are individuals who have their own interest. Is like anyone who has an ambition to be a member of parliament, to be a councillor, just saying to their followers. But otherwise, the official process of the party haven't begun, and once they've begun, we're actually going to make it very public.
All right. There's also talk about some level of amendment to the Constitution. You're talking about an electoral amendment bill, and of course, finding ways to reverse the damage that has been done by the ZANU PF. So I want you to shed a little more light on what parts need to be amended, and also the CCC is hoping to gather between 5 to 7 million voters in the next elections. Do you think that is possible or achievable?
Thank you very much. That is our big, hairy, audacious goal in the politics of our country. We think that is achievable, subject to a number of processes that must happen. One is obviously building a credible alternative, which is what we've been doing. Very soon you will see us unveiling our policy documents, our manifesto, our program of action and campaign as we enter into the shadows of the election. But the big issue really has been that Zimbabwe has been, sinking in vicious cycles of disputed elections. Elections have left the Zimbabwean society divided and without a strong social contract because of the fact that we have not been able to reform, not just according to Zimbabwean constitution and the electoral law, but also according to the certain guidelines of democratic elections, the African Charter on free and democratic elections. That is the biggest problem that we're facing. So we want to cure that for the first time in 2023, let Zimbabwe have an election that is undisputed, an election where both parties are able to congratulate each other on the victory and the loss thereof. This is what we believe, because once we resolve that broken down social contract, which is born out of disputed elections and producing a disputed government, we think that we must cure that. How do you cure that? Let's resolve the reform question. We launched a document called Pre-Election Pact on Reforms, which has basically 7 minimum reforms. And we are tabling that in Parliament because there are 3 documents that came: our prepared document, the Pollard reform document, and the Zesny bill, which is the Civic Society bill. We think that we can bring together all these and produce an electoral amendment bill that is encompassing and accommodative of all these diverging interests. Once we do that, it means that we are going to have an election that is free and fair and that is acceptable. Part of the reforms that we think are necessary and we have time to implement them is obviously that let's have a blitz to register more people. Let's avoid the bureaucratic red tape in the registration centers and open more. The other one obviously is the voters' roll. We think that political parties must have a voters' roll which is audited by a reputable firm, which is the basic standard across the African continent and of course the entire cosmos. So we think that these things are achievable and these things can be done. And once we do that, we are curing this issue of disputed elections. And we think once we do that, we have a government that is able to be respected internationally, respected regionally, and of course is trusted by the people. We are able to produce a government of the people, for the people, by the people.
OSTALLOS, let's talk also about the attacks. We've had conversations about the attacks on the CCC on this show, even with you here. Have these attacks dropped? You have been reported to have said that your organization is carrying out activities on the ground because of fear of victimization. Is that still a concern that is heard?
Of course, the issue of violence has actually escalated. I'm sure you heard about the Murewa 7 that were attacked recently for holding a meeting in the countryside, ironically by a political party that claims that CCC is not present in the countryside. But when they are seeing us organizing and mobilizing from below, they attack our members. There is also escalated threats directly to the life of the president by members, senior leadership of ZANU. There is also obviously been an intention to try and buy and block us into having our public meetings. Just last week, we had 2 members of parliament arrested and our senior women's leadership being arrested because of a meeting we're supposed to be having here in Harare. So what you see is ZANU's unleashing of the tool of terror and harvest of fear as a tool to mobilize and differentiate our people. But we have been budgeting for this. That's why you see us escalating our program of community protection and making sure that we mobilize our people in numbers. Our focus is making sure that our people are able to go and vote for change in the election. There's going to be obviously a number of blockages of our rallies. We have just applied for other rallies, hopefully that they are going to be sanctioned, that are supposed to be happening over the weekend. So as we go into an election, we expect more violence, we expect more terror, and we are in the receiving end of state-sponsored violence, which is a big issue. That's why we're engaging SADC and the African Union, because we think that they recommended that we resolve and cure this disease of violence, and they can be able to help us so that we are able to help ourselves, because Zimbabwe's problem are spilling over, particularly into South Africa, where more than 2 million people are crossing over as economic and political refugees. So SADC and South Africa in particular and other regional players can help us so that we have a free and fair election so that we can build our own country.
Gift OSTALLOS SIZIBA, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we do hope that issues and conversations about violence and safety of the people are prioritized and that we have free and fair elections coming shortly.
Thank you very much.